We're going to now welcome Tabitha Brown, and there she is right now. So great to have you.
Hello there. Thank you for having me.
So great to have you. And your book is wonderful, super inspiring. It was inspiring for me. I just have to say, I rode in a bike race, and I was a little bit nervous about it because I'm not an athlete and I'm not a normally healthy eater, and I'm doing all the struggles everybody else is.
Right.
So, my mantra when I showed up for the race was that I'm good enough. And that I had just heard you talking about that. So thank you for putting that in my head.
Absolutely. And we are always enough for whatever we show up for.
Oh, yeah. That is the truth. That is the truth.
Right.
So,
that's right.
I happened on to your feed on Instagram, and I was instantly drawn in by your North Carolina dialect and your enthusiasm and your positive energy, and so grateful to follow you. And I've been inspired to eat better, eat healthier. I have a daughter that's a vegan.
Very good.
Her chef. Yeah, she loves it. And so when I told her I was talking to you, she sent me like 57 questions.
All right, girl.
She wanted to know. She's like, I want to know how she is just so brave in the kitchen. I said, well, you got to read her book because that will tell you a lot, right?
That's right, honey.
You have torn down so many walls and have penetrated communities and families and individuals to eat healthier. I've been trying to get that to happen for 20 years, and I've seen nobody inspire people the way you have to cook for themselves and put together healthier meals. And you've done that for my family, for myself, and we're super inspired by you. Can you tell us what your tipping point was, like on the vegan piece?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I got sick back in 2016, January of 2016. I had this terrible headache in the back of my head, and I woke up with it. And I've had chronic pain from an injury that I had in high school from a car accident in my neck. So for over, 30 years, I've always had I wake up with a stiff neck, and sometimes it would give me a little headache. So I thought it was the same thing. So I didn't think anything of it other than the fact that, oh man, this was really in the back of my head more this time. But that headache rested there every day for 1 year and 7 months. It never went away. The pain would kind of go up and down, but it was always constant. And I just could not get well from it. I started having chronic fatigue in my body. Chronic pain throughout my body started to happen. I would start to fall when I would walk. I lost my vision for a day. I just was in really bad shape. And I would go to the doctor week after week, month after month, blood work, MRIs, and everything would come back normal. Everything would come back normal. And they would say to me, we know something is attacking your immune system. We just can't figure it out. And I even had this rheumatologist tell me one time, she said, it's been a long time of us testing you and not getting any results. What we normally tell people when we cannot diagnose them is that they have fibromyalgia. And I said, well, honey, I don't want to just take that because you can't figure it out. I don't want you to just decide I got something because you can't figure out what it is,
Right.
And so when you don't know what's wrong with you, you also get depressed. I was depressed. I had major anxiety and I thought I was going to die. I just was in constant panic. And I just was like, you know what? I didn't know what to do. But then when my daughter came home from school one day and she had watched the documentary, What the Health, at school. And she told me, she said, Mom, I think y'all should watch it and see. And when I watched it, it was a light bulb moment for me. When they started talking about not all diseases are hereditary, is that we eat the same thing, causing the same disease in our family. And I thought, my mama died at 51 of a rare disease, ALS. There's no cause and there's no cure. My daddy just turned 70, and he's the first man to ever turn 70 in our family. People get sick and they die at young ages in my family. And I thought, well, the only common denominator is how we eat. And it's also the only thing I have not tried. And so I told my husband, I was like, let's do a 30-day vegan challenge. And he said, okay. And we did it. And in the first 10 days, my headache disappeared. And I was like, uh-oh, honey, Tab on to something. I'm on to something. It's working. And then after the 29, 30 days, I was having so much energy again. It's like pain just started to leave my body. And I told my husband, I'm never going back. This is going to be my life. And here I am almost, 4.5 years later.
And changing everybody else's life too, for the good. Mine included. And I often am inspired by what you're preparing and how you're eating and your conversation. My daughter May was like, Dad, she's just like so brave in the kitchen. How does she do that? And, I think one of the things that I love about your tapes on Instagram and following you on YouTube and then other platforms is that you are fearless. Like, you dare to make a mistake, which I love. We're only talking about lunch.
Right. It's just food. It's just food.
Right. But I love the way you dare to make a mistake that way. And that is inspiring. And the fact that people can actually prepare these plant-based diets for not a lot of money and not a lot of time. And if anybody's been through drive-through food like we all have, it's a 15-minute wait. And then it's probably not doing you any favors just because you're starving to death or you think you are.
Exactly.
Right? So the narrative, you have really made a leap that has changed the narrative for a lot of people. It's made eating healthier in a very approachable, unscary way. And I love the way that you're doing that. And I think it's interesting that you've played family epidemiologist in the sense that you're aware that family members in your family have not lived long lives. Yeah. And that diet may have something to do with it. And is there a relationship you could share with me about your food relationship before you got into this phase or this vegan cooking?
Well, honey, I'm from the South, right? I'm from North Carolina. Child, and ate things that I didn't even know what I was eating, okay? Yeah. And so, when you're from the South, and I'm a whole Black woman, so, we was frying it up. We were I grew up eating pork and chicken, of course, and fried fish. Everything was fried. Like, so much was fried.
Which I loved. I can't help it.
Right. I love fried stuff, too, in moderation, still, but beef, so many things, which also cause us to have a lot of different issues, and diseases. But I ate all the Southern favorites and comfort food. And it just was also eating me alive, right? And so I had to get to a point where I rethought it and said, I can still have some of my favorites just in a different way, right? Mm-hmm. So I definitely was not a person who was a terrible eater, but I did grow up eating terrible.
I know, because I'm originally from the Midwest, then I moved here a few decades ago. I moved right into the barbecue with the 6 inches of coleslaw. And, it's really been a tough journey for me to take my own reins and turn my diet around and make it happen. But the beautiful thing about your segments is that it is okay if you make a mistake, right? It's okay. And we don't have to be perfect when we start down this road. For myself, I don't eat any pork or beef. I occasionally will eat chicken and fish, but mostly vegetables and mostly plants. Yeah. And a lot of those alternative, a lot of the fish chicken thing is because I'm traveling and I often, it's sometimes hard to plan. So I'll jump on board with that. But I did want to ask you, you use a lot of mushrooms in your food. And I do too, but I'm so allergic to them. And I'm just wondering, I know, doesn't that seem wrong?
Yeah. If I get allergic to mushrooms, the Lord might as well go on and take me now, honey, because I love them so much. Oh my Lord. But yeah, is it all mushrooms or are you learning?
I had a very bad reaction about 20 years ago and they said, stay away from all mushrooms because they couldn't figure it out. I ended up in the hospital for a few days.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's scary.
It wasn't like an itch. It was a big anaphylactic kind of.
Well, that's how I am. I'm that way with dairy. Yeah. Right. You got to have the EpiPen and all that stuff.
Yeah. Which I have.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, but I'm just wondering about the mushrooms. Is there anything that people like me can do to switch the mushrooms out? Are there things that you would use? I know, you love them.
I love a mushroom. I mean, like when you said the barbecue sandwich with the coleslaw, I do an oyster mushroom barbecue, but I also do a jackfruit barbecue without mushroom.
Mm-hmm.
So use jackfruit, you can substitute there. I'm trying to think what other things that you could substitute the mushrooms for. Because the other thing is that they're so good for us. I mean, not for you, right?
They're great. And I used to eat them all the time. I just had something bad that went south.
Yeah.
So
it happens. You can always have, a progressive allergy that progresses as you age.
Mm-hmm.
That's how mine happened with dairy and with soy. It just kind of came on all of a sudden after I had been eating it forever. But it's a brain food, which I love, because it's a sponge just like the brain, and
really good.
Exactly. So I don't know what I would suggest other than
the jackfruit. I'm going to try the jackfruit.
Yeah, and you just got to cook it right. You got to cook it well, honey, because if not, honey, Jack won't do you right. Okay?
Jack won't, Willie. But that's so good. And how long do you cook that for?
So when I saute it until it starts to crisp just a little bit. Because it's soft in texture, but you'll get like a little bit of crisp on pieces of it. So you're like, oh, okay, I sauteed it enough.
Good, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I do, people ask me about food all the time. And I was like, my go-to is, first of all, I love your untuna whole situation. People who are joining us for this broadcast, I hope they're going to check out your book and check out the untuna recipes and the other recipes that come with the book. But I often will use chickpeas. Use a lot of chickpeas, and I throw in, me too, and I chop them up. I throw in the apples and the fruit and cashews, little vegan, and I have like a chicken salad situation going on that's not really, but it's delicious and easy. What? Yeah,
that sounds so good.
It is. Have you done it? It's so yummy.
I know. I think I need to do that and add the cashews.
It's like apples, cashews. Sometimes I throw in walnuts too. The chickpeas, the vegan mayonnaise, yummy.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And that's still good for the brain because you're adding the walnuts in there. Hearts of palm is another good substitute.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I love hearts of palm. I normally throw them in like different salads, but I can eat a whole thing of those. They're good.
I slice them. Like, you know how you can get the hearts of palm in the jar or in a can and they're round and all right. So if you slice them in half and you batter it like fish and you fry it and it tastes like fish.
Really?
Yeah, it's so good.
Should I make tartar sauce out of vegan?
Yeah, I'll throw you some relish on in there, honey.
And I love a pickle too.
Yeah, come on.
Because that's my business.
Because that's my business. That's right.
I love them. It's great. So now you are speaking everywhere. You are going everywhere and doing great things and impacting people's health.
Thank you.
Not just inspiring them for different decisions, but you're really impacting people's health. And I personally am so grateful for that because I see a lot of disease. I've lived with a lot of disease. I've had a lot of losses around that. And I know when the real miracle in all of this is trying to prevent disease. And so much of that comes through food. Yeah. And the fact that you're here today supporting our effort means so much to us. And I know we're going to let the viewers know, the people that are participating, about your Instagram channel and your book, and we'll make sure that's on there. And we're so excited to have you and your help in helping to, bang that healthier drum and that more positive vibe. Like everything that comes out of you is positive.
Thank you for that. Well, it's a choice, right?
Yeah. It is a choice.
We can choose to be negative. We can choose to be positive.
It's funny because I just on that path, I work out with somebody. I'm lucky enough to work out with somebody that's very good. He's like, Bill, your negative self-talk has got to go. And I was like, it's hard to shake.
Yeah.
It's hard to shake. But the more energy and time you spend around positive people, it can make a world of difference. So
Right.
not only for health, I'm just grateful for your attitude and the positive energy you put in the world, and super glad that you could be part of this. You're really doing great, great work. And I really admire your leadership.
Thank you so much, honey. I appreciate you. And thank you for having me and thinking of me. I really do appreciate that. Because I know y'all have many people, honey. And I'm not like, whenever I get certain like organizations, I'm like, well, they know I'm not a doctor, right? Or I'm not like a nutritionist. I'm just a woman who shares. And so for you to see me.
We love that. I'm not a doctor or scientist. I'm a C student from Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan. And when we started this organization, I just really wanted less cancer. I wanted to figure out how to lower the incidences of cancer. And fortunately, that's what we have scientists and physicians for, and healthcare providers that guide us in our work. But there's a lot to be said for the squeaky wheel. And a lot of things can change just by speaking up. And we're already seeing, just from market research, the work that you're impacting is so powerful. So, you're certainly a leader on that level, and we're very grateful.
Thank you so much. And that means I'm doing something right.
You're doing a lot right. When you can, in your book, you talk about like sticking to the dream, following your lead. When we first started this organization, I had to juggle a lot of jobs, still do. And it is good because we really don't have any messaging that is shaped by outside forces. It's all evidence-based science, and while that's great, we also need people like you and your stories and the change that you're making, not only here across the country, but around the globe.
Thank you, honey. Well, I will not stop, right? I will always share and do it with love and kindness and no judgment. And that's what helps people pay attention. Right?
It does. And it allows people to lean in.
Yeah.
And so you've been, I think too, when you talk about judgment, when people talk about what you should do because of blah, blah, and blah, it's hard for some people to listen to. And while we are educating healthcare providers on this feed, we're also educating a lot of people that want their health better. And they may not be a healthcare provider, but they have the tools to do incredible things around exercise and diet that can vastly improve their lives. And that's great.